it's not like we haven't experienced failure, right, as part of this business. We have to change our model like 5 times. Right, we did coupon books, we did discount cards, we did mobile coupons, we did neighborhood coupon mailings in envelopes, then we did Snapdeal, right? And even with Snapdeal, we first did deals, now we are also doing products. I think we are we're a very aggressive company, right? We are nice people, but we are an aggressive company, right? We like to move very fast, right? And in this space, we realized that scale was going to be critical. Right? If you don't have scale in this space, then you get left behind. And that scale is both from a supply side and a demand side. Right? The supply side scale is having a lot more merchants, right? A lot more deals, and the demand side is having a lot of subscribers. And scaling both of them together is a non-trivial task. But I think after 2 years of really slumming it out, right? Trying out these different couponing businesses, we had become so thick-skinned as entrepreneurs and as a team. We were like, this internet business is quite easy actually, relatively speaking, right? Because earlier we were trying and going and we had coupon books in our bags and we used to go sell them ourselves, etc. Right? Now it's like you're sitting in your office and things are selling on their own.
Absolutely.
That was a very novel experience for us. So our philosophy is very simple, right? The consumer who's going to a restaurant, spa, salon is the same consumer who's buying a mobile phone, watch, sunglass, perfume, personal care products, etc. So it's the same consumer. So why not get a greater share of their wallet when they've already established trust in us, right? If they've given us their trust, we want to get a greater share of their wallet. And honestly, this products thing, to be completely honest, 1 year ago, if you asked me, I would be a little skeptical of whether we wanted to do products as a company. But over the last 1 year, we've probably received over 1,000 emails from customers saying that we bought this from you, we had a great experience, we want to buy more things from you. And then finally, as a company, we matured and we realized that we have to think about the opportunity we address more holistically, right? And hence, let's start selling more things to our consumers. So right now, a big focus area for us is increasing our assortment on the site. The really cool thing about Snapdeal now, which we realized after we launched products, is that because we sell services to consumers, we really understand a lot more about consumers, right? We really understand a lot more about their purchase patterns. So for instance, if you own a BlackBerry and I own a BlackBerry and my driver owns a BlackBerry, right? We all three of us have very different lifestyles, right? Very different people, right? You're a journalist, I run an internet company, he's a driver, right? So product ownership is not a great proxy for who the person is. And we don't have a lot of intelligence as a result then as to what else we can sell you. We can sell you a charger, we can sell you a case, we can sell you a Bluetooth, but that's about it. We can't even sell you another phone. However, on Snapdeal, if you have bought a spa deal from us, right, next time you come to the site, we'll sell you a L'Oreal face cream. Or if you've bought a BlackBerry from us, right, we know you bought it from Worley. Now we'll next time you come to the site, you'll see restaurant deals and spa deals around Worley. And that's the beauty of this integrated services and products e-commerce platform, which no one else has, not only in India but actually anywhere in the world. So we're very excited about that. That's because of services being a better proxy for who the consumer is. We are really leveraging that well, leveraging that data and analytics and recommendation engines well to drive that cross-selling. I don't know what the rationale would be for every different business in this space. Our rationale is very simple. If our consumers want it from us, we will sell it to them, right? So we look at what do consumers want and whether we have the wherewithal as a company to sell it to them, we will. If we don't have the wherewithal, we'll build the wherewithal and we'll sell it to them. Either which way, if we have 11 million consumers, right, 11 million registered users on Snapdeal, and 1 out of 8 internet users in India is registered on Snapdeal, right, that's a lot of people, right? Why wouldn't we want to provide them a great experience, not only in terms of services merchant, but also in terms of products? Why? I mean, I can't think of a single good reason why we would limit the potential of our own business and the ability of our own business to provide great experiences to our customers. There's no one good reason in my mind, which is why we do it. I don't think in terms of next. I think in terms of how do we make the experience better. There are basically three key pillars, right? There is assortment, value, and convenience. Now, what we are really focused on is how do we increase the richness of the assortment. How do we continue delivering value to consumers, wherein when consumers are thinking deals, they think Snapdeal, or when they think Snapdeal, they think deals. And in terms of convenience, how do you ship faster, how do you do reverse logistics in a more seamless manner, and all those things. And we work with a wide network of merchants for our marketplace. Our model is more of a marketplace model. And what that enables us to do is really ramp up the assortment very quickly, right? Because you'll have a jewellery vendor sitting in Jaipur who'll have 1,000 SKUs, but he will not fulfill, right? So how do you bring him on board your platform and make him e-commerce ready, right?
True.
And those are the kind of challenges that we are working on right now, leveraging a lot of information systems, etc., that we built over the last 3-4 months at Snapdeal. In terms of traffic, we have the highest traffic amongst any e-commerce site in India, right? So if your demand pipe is so strong, right, then all you need to do is figure out how do you get more supply, right? And supply in our companies or in our businesses context would mean more deals, more products, right? So I think the e-commerce space is really large, right? The way I think about it is in developed markets, 3% of GDP is typically e-commerce. India is a $1.7 trillion market right now, GDP wise. 3% of 1.7 trillion is 50 billion, right? Indian e-commerce is probably $500 million right now. So if you think about headroom for opportunity, it's tremendous. My view is that there are about 3-4 million internet transactors in India right now. And if there are about 80-90 million internet users, so you have about a 2% internet transactor rate.
True.
In China, that number is 30%. Right? So as the internet in India expands and explodes, when we have 200-300 million internet users and you have 50 to 100 million transactors, all our businesses are going to multiply, right, by a factor of 10-20 times. We just can't get complacent. We have to keep focusing on customer experience, keep providing them great choice, great value, great assortment, right, and ensure that people's trust in e-commerce and virtual retail is not destroyed. Right? So I think that is a responsibility that we take upon ourselves as Snapdeal, and I think that's a responsibility that I know a lot of my friends who are running good e-commerce companies also take upon themselves. I think the paths to success in e-commerce are various. Right? I don't think the path is only you do apparel and then you do everything else, or you do shoes then you do everything else, or you do books, you do everything else, you do deals and then you do everything else. I think the paths are many, right? It's not how Amazon grew, because even in China, you see that the path of entering e-commerce is different for different companies, right? For 360 it's electronics, for instance, right? So that's the entry point. However, as you expand the business, you have to figure out what are you going to focus on, right? When you are shipping, let's say 200,000-300,000 orders a day, or doing 200,000-300,000 transactions a day, you want to know what kind of company you are. Are you going to be the company that's going to be logistics heavy, inventory heavy, or are you going to be the company which is going to be assortment heavy, right? And it's very hard to do everything. It's very hard to do everything, right? When we are all, the way I see it is, all our businesses are relatively very small right now, relative to how big these businesses should become in the next 5 years. So right now it's easy to say, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do assortment properly, I'm going to provide value, and I'm going to do convenience also. But when we are at the scale of 200,000-300,000 orders a day, that's when we'll have to really pick which one we want to do, right? And I think every company has its own philosophy. Our philosophy is keeping the business lean, doing more with less, right?
So not really getting into all logistics, you're saying?
So right now there is no plan to do that. But that way we never rule out any option. We will assess things as they go. But until now, our experience with the courier companies has actually been good. When we track, about 98.3% of our shipments through the leading courier companies get delivered in the time frame that they tell us. Right? To me, that's reasonably good, and I'm not sure if that warrants us to build a logistics infrastructure yet.
Okay.
If at a future date we feel that that's necessary, I don't see any reason why it would be very hard for us. We have 350 people on the ground in 50 cities right now.
Sure.
And we are, as a company, we are very comfortable with large feet-on-street teams. So from a skill perspective, our company can do it. It's just from a intent, we are not there yet. Absolutely. We are an e-commerce company, right? I don't think we've never been not an e-commerce company, right? We've always been an e-commerce company. We are selling things online, we are an e-commerce company. Our scope is wide enough to encompass services, right? Which is and will continue to be at the core of our business. Because what services does, or services merchants do, or services deals do, is drives a high velocity of traffic and transactors to our site, who then end up buying other things. So 80% of what we sell every day on Snapdeal are not the stuff that we promote every day, right? So the stuff that you get in your emails only account for 20% of our daily sales. So which goes to show that people are coming to Snapdeal to browse and buy, and not only to buy impulsively. I think it's a moving target right now, but my sense is it will be probably a half and half.
Okay. It's grown that big, you're saying?
Yeah, it's growing fast, right? Also, there's another reason for it, right? Products have an unfair advantage because you can ship them to 2,000 cities and towns, right? Deals, you can only sell them where those merchants are or where your presence is, which is about 50 cities. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison, right? So people ask me this question very often, and I say it with that caveat, that you're kind of comparing two very different kind of businesses in terms of the scope of those businesses, right? But we are seeing tremendous growth on the deals business also, and our market share continues to increase there. The type of merchants, we have at any given point in time, we probably have about a dozen 5-star hotels who are partnered with Snapdeal. 1 year ago, that never happened. I remember our business development team used to get chewed out of the 5-star hotels that we don't do deals, we don't do discounts. I think at the end of the day, merchants need business, right? And they are coming back, and the premium merchants are also coming back. The large retailers are coming to us also. My mother has never stopped negotiating on the potatoes in her life, downturn or no downturn. I think deals are very core to our DNA as human beings, and more so as Indians, right? I don't think that's going to change. I have no issues believing that the deals business is something that appeals to something so carnal in us human beings that it's not going to go away. Right? That thing I keep saying, right? That Indians are about ABCD, astrology, Bollywood, cricket, and discounts. So as long as you're doing one of those four, you're in pretty good shape. So I don't think deals are going away anytime soon. If that were the case, when we are not in a downturn, which is like now, however, when you go to an end of season sale to a mall, it is madness. Why is it madness? I mean, I only shop in end of season sale or on Snapdeal, right? and I know most people do that. Why is that? It's not like they can't afford it at full price. They absolutely can. If a shoe which is 3,000 rupees, if they're getting it 1,500, they could have afforded it at 3,000 also. But there is just this internal desire to get a great deal. I think for us, our business, deals are a bait, right? Deals get people in the door, and sometimes they just buy the deals and go away. But 80% of the time, they don't even buy the deals.
So these are a bait for you, saying that?
Yeah,
deals, to get them to
deals are an entry point, right? And that's fair. I mean, our deals are very transparent, right? Our deals are very clean. They are well serviced, right? Everything, whether it's services deals or products deals, right? They're very transparent. So if you just like that, great. But there are many other things that we have to sell you. So we don't have an issue. Interestingly, and I'm guessing your comment is more restricted to the services deals.
The services, yeah.
So in products, of course, that's not a consideration. But in the services case, what we've seen, and we've done a lot of surveys, we've seen that 80% of people who go back to a merchant go back because that merchant was proximate to them, and they go back even without a deal. Right? What that means is, if you bought a deal at a merchant which was close to where you live or where you work, your chances of going back to that merchant at full price are significantly higher, which makes logical sense, right? Because you tried out that merchant for the first time using a deal, but because you liked it, you went back and paid full price. And that's what happens. So there's really no rocket science around it. At the end of the day, my point always is that a person who buys a deal from Snapdeal to go to a merchant is not a person who couldn't have afforded that to eat out or go to that spa at full price. They could have afforded at full price also. We are just helping those merchants acquire the customer the first time. And if their service or product is good, the customer will go back. So interestingly, there are some large regional merchants in dining and personal care categories where anywhere from 30 to 50% of their total revenues are now being accounted for by Snapdeal customers, right? And that is very significant, to the point where some of these merchants are actually coming to us now and saying, take a fixed fee every month from us, right? But feature us once a month. And we still don't do it, right? Because we want to keep providing a great experience to our customers, and we want to make sure that we don't create a sense of staleness on the site. We keep bringing fresh things to our consumers. So as I mentioned, right, there's so much headroom for opportunity in e-commerce in India right now, because e-commerce is solving very fundamental problems of access, right, for a large part of the country, a large part of the buying population of the country. Then in my view, I'm extremely bullish on e-commerce. If the question is about, can e-commerce companies make money, that's a good question to ask, right? Because there is definitely a question mark there. I think it's less of a question mark for our kind of business, because our deals business is it's like a cash cow, right? We have 30% margins there, and that money drops straight into the bottom line for us, which helps to fuel the growth for other things that we are doing. But I think in categories like electronics, lower margin categories, it's almost impossible to make money in e-commerce. However, they are an entry point for consumers to start using e-commerce. Okay. Right? Because mobiles is something people are buying anyways, right? And if they can get a better price, better deal, they'll buy it online, right? As long as it's convenient for them. And hopefully with that trust, they start buying other things, which is what we've seen on Snapdeal. Because they bought a spa deal or a restaurant deal or a mobile phone or something else, they now buy another product or another deal from us, right? So, I think the question around VCs is an interesting one, but they're probably better suited to answering it. My perspective as an entrepreneur is there's crazy headroom for growth in this space, right? And there will be multiple companies that will become large businesses here, and the companies that become large businesses are the ones who move fast, focus on customer experience, and ensure that they don't get complacent. So Snapdeal is already probably the largest e-retailer of lifestyle products in India. Right? We're the largest e-retailer of personal care, watches, sunglasses, perfumes, jewellery, among some other categories. And I think we are top 3 e-retailers of mobile phones already. And we started our products business 3.5 months ago. Right? So if you fast forward 1 year, will we be larger or will we be smaller? We will be larger, right? So that's what I mean. That there is that captive base of consumers that we have. They are so amenable to consuming multiple things, not only services or restaurants, etc., but also products, that our intent is to provide them whatever they want. And today these are more lifestyle categories, but while we also sell some electronics to them. But we want to be a brand that participates in people's lives every day. Like yesterday, I'll give you an example. I used a conditioner that I bought from Snapdeal. I used a face cream that I bought from Snapdeal. I'm wearing shoes that I bought on Snapdeal. I ate lunch with a friend at Tasty Tangles in Delhi, which is a restaurant I like, using a Snapdeal deal. And of course, I'm skewed on one end of the spectrum, right? And my perspective may not be considered completely objective, but that's my definition of participating in a consumer's life, right? Where subconsciously we did participate in my life, right? And I hope that we can replicate that for millions of consumers in India. No, so actually our audience is equally split, right? It's 50% male, for the most part 50% male, 50% female. Interestingly, we see a lot of gifting happen on Snapdeal. I think my sense is, and we did some surveys, about half the personal care products that are bought on Snapdeal, which include like cosmetics, perfumes, etc., are bought for one gender, by one gender for the other gender.
Okay.
Right? So I think Snapdeal as a platform people use for gifting a lot.
Okay.
Which was surprising to us, but now in retrospect it seems logical, right? As in having separate platforms.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all the things I'm telling you right now break down, right? Otherwise, I'm just making up stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? So we truly believe in the fact that the consumer is the same. It's the same consumer, right? And people trust Snapdeal now, right? And that takes a tremendous amount of effort to do. And our team, I think, has done a tremendous job. We've done it in 18 months. A young, passionate team, right? Our average age at Snapdeal is 25, less than 25, right? A lot of the people here are doing the first job or second job. Average age of our senior management team is 29, right? We pride ourselves in saying that we are brutally aggressive, right? We love moving fast, right? And I think that's the only reason why we left behind 40 other competitors in the deal space. And put so much distance between us and them that it didn't even matter at some point, wherein we're spending more time looking ahead and looking over our shoulder. We have a great mid-management team and great folks who are just starting off in their careers, and I think it was a trust that they put in our team more than anything else, and what we had accomplished with small amount of money in a very short period of time. And when we got more capital infused into the business, we just put the business on jet propulsion. Right? Then we just move forward very fast. I think we've used less than 20% of the money that we've raised till now. Right? So 20% of the money that came into the company, that's all we've used. Because you think about it, right? You zoom out. What is our cost? Our cost is people, right? And because our team is so young, we don't have folks who are pulling in crores of rupees in salaries, right? I mean, we're very modest that way in terms of our pay scales, right? We pay competitively, pay at market or above market, but we'd rather pay a 25, 26-year-old who's really smart, IIT guy, right? We'd rather pay him a little bit more, right, than get a 45-year-old industry veteran and match their salary. Because you want to decide what kind of company do you want to build. Do you want to build an elephant with a snout or with a trunk or a squirrel with a tail?
Yeah.
Right? You have to take a call as a company, and it's not like one is worse or wrong. It's just you have to decide. I think so. There's people cost, there's marketing cost, which is purely discretionary, right? And then there is administrative cost, which is your offices and your lights, fans, etc.
So marketing costs?
So the marketing costs are purely discretionary. Whenever you want, you can turn it off. So Snapdeal is probably the only e-commerce company where if tomorrow the shit hits the fan with the market, we can turn the company profitable in 3 months. Largely driven by the fact that we have very low OPEX.
Yeah.
Outside of our salaries and admin costs, we don't have OPEX. OPEX that needs to be spent month on month to keep the business alive. We don't take inventory. And that's one of the reasons we don't block a lot of cash in our inventory also. So we build a lot of very strong information systems that enable us to essentially just ship products either directly from merchants, right, or as a transit route through a warehouse and then through one of our merchants' warehouse, and that goes directly to the customer from there, right? So we don't we are a little averse to an inventory-led model. No. So by inventory, I mean that we don't buy it. Doesn't mean that it's not there. A lot of our partners, our brands and vendors, they actually put inventory, leave inventory aside on a consignment basis, right? On a what is called sale or return. That way, the product is there. The moment a sale order comes, it gets shipped automatically, right? So your point is about scale and speed of shipping, right? That's what your point is about. So for that, you just need stuff sitting there, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Our philosophy is you can have stuff sitting there, you don't need to own it, because that's what gets your cash stuck. We have operations in 50 cities, but we have offices in about 10 to 15 cities. So we keep our costs extremely low. And I'm talking, the 15th office that we'll have, it'll be like an office in a, our offices are not fancy. The graduates, MBAs, a person with just raw energy, passion and intellect will score over anyone with, a long list of pedigree. Because what are we going to do with a pedigree? I think the thing that I spend a lot of time on is thinking about is how do we keep enhancing customer experience, right? What all do we need to do, both on the services side of the business and the product side of the business, to really have a beautiful customer experience. So even though we started very recently, about 92% of our products get delivered in less than 5 days, and about 70+% of our products get delivered in less than 3 days. And this is without our own logistics network. And that's because we focused a lot of time on making sure that the product gets handed over to the logistics company very quickly, right? So we put in a lot of information systems in place in the middle to make that happen. Now, but so customer experience is one thing we spend a lot of time thinking about as a company. I think the second thing we think about is how do we provide more choice to our consumers. Because we've solved the demand problem, and that's not an easy problem to solve. When there's such a plethora of websites out there, how do you ensure that you get that kind of mind share from consumers, that so many of them are coming to you every single day, right? And I have consumers who write to me and saying that when they get to office at 10 a.m., before they log on to Facebook, they log on to Snapdeal, right? Because they may not buy anything, but there's this anticipation of seeing what is there today on the site, right? So I would say those are the two key things that we're very focused on. Ensuring that we provide a great experience and ensuring we have a great assortment. And I guess the third thing, which kind of is a different league, is how do we continue to build and motivate a great team, right? That's something we spend a lot of our time. I spend 30% of my time recruiting, right? Recruiting, spending time with the team, doing team meetings, because what happens is after you have 150 people, right, we're close to 800 people now. After you're beyond 150 people, it's very hard to know everyone in your company, right? Especially when you have them across 50 cities, right? So and I think both me and Rohit spend a lot of time trying to make sure that the company stays cohesive, very driven, and we're all chasing the same goal. One company I admire a lot is probably Amazon.
Okay.
Not only because they were pioneers, but because they have this uncanny ability and comfort to disrupt their own business, right? And which very few, if you read Jeff Bezos' new book, it's enlightening how much time he's spending on talking about the lean business of Amazon, which is services, digital, marketplaces, versus the inventory-led models, right? And that goes to show that how significantly, in a relatively short period of time, that company's mindset has evolved. And for a company that large, for them to evolve that mindset so significantly, so quickly, is really commendable. And for young entrepreneurs like ours, it's a great learning, right? That how do you galvanize a company to move, to kind of steer slowly into another direction.